Hello everyone, Aaron again from Ansem Computing, and welcome back to part 2 of the JQuery banner rotator. Now where we last left off, you can see we have our 5 images and we left them just sitting underneath each other. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get straight back into this because obviously you would have been watching from part 1, and I'm going to go straight back into my code and I'm going to come straight underneath my script tags, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a style type text CSS, and I'm going to run that there. Now I'm just putting the my CSS within the page. You can use you can use a CSS style sheet and include that within the script, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to be including it straight into the script, as it's literally about 4 lines of code or 4 different classes and IDs that we need. So let's get started. So the first one is going to be the wrapper, our main div container, and I'm just basically going to give that a width, and I'm going to set the width to auto. So as you can see, if I go back into design, there's nothing changed, it's still all the same. So the next one is going to be our header holder. So hash or pound symbol, header holder, and that's going to be a width. This is where we tell CSS or tell the browser that our images are going to be obviously sitting inside of here, so this is where we need to tell it exactly what sizes our images are, and obviously just setting out how we want the images to look. So I'm going to give this a set width of 950 pixel, because that's how wide my images are, and again my height for these is 100 pixels. I don't want to go too wide or too high or too small in height or width, just otherwise this won't look right. So just bear that in mind, that whatever size you make your images is what you change this width and this height to. So I'm going to put a margin left, and I'm going to set that to auto, and I'm going to give it a margin right. Hopefully you guys that are watching this video, hopefully you know some CSS. If you don't, basically the pound or hash symbol represents an ID, which is what we have here for the div ID. So that's just what's represented here in CSS. And this class is represented by a period or a full stop or a dot, whichever one you like to call it. And basically margin left auto and margin right auto just basically means that any div that we are going to center, I like to use margin left auto or margin right auto, so that way it will automatically put a padding, or it will set the left and right to meet and be equal each side. So basically, I'll just show you what I mean. If I go into design, you will see a change. Obviously I know the top one, we've still got our opening here, but if I click on the image, you'll see that we have all these lines here. Now this is the margin that I've put on, so it will always keep that image to the middle. And as you can see, all the other images have lined up exactly where this one is. So that's all good for me. So I'm going to save that just as that is for the moment. So back into the code, and the next one we're going to do is our banner. So the class, as I said, is a full stop or a period or a dot, and we're going to call this banner. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a position on this, and we're going to give it a position of absolute. So obviously we want this to be absolute to the first picture that's shown. So this is how we make them sit on top of each other. so that they're ready to be swapped over with each other once we set our timer on the JQuery. The next thing is we are going to display these to none, as we don't want these to be shown on on the entrance. I can't get my words out today, sorry guys. On the entrance of our browser, we want to show the one picture that we want to load first. We don't want to show all of them. So that's why we put a display of none. And obviously we need to set our width again. So 950 pixels. And set our height as 100 pixels. Now this next part that we're going to be doing with this CSS, well, I'll show you first exactly what I mean. So let's save that out. If I go into design, now you can see we have no images there whatsoever. So once we come into the page from the browser, once we have the jQuery set up and scripted out, the first image will automatically load due to obviously the DOM being obviously document ready, and that will load in the first picture. So don't worry about this being blank at the moment. But basically what the position absolute is, I don't think it's going to let me, no. But basically what it is, when you come into here, normally when you click on this, you will get up a little square box at the top, and it will allow you a four-crossed arrow cursor, and basically you'll be able to move this exactly where you like. It may be like that obviously because I've set mine with the margin with the autos left and right, but basically I'm still going to set it inside of here. I know what this is just because I had this written down before I started doing this. Obviously I didn't want to do it and then not be able to know exactly what it was. So what we're going to be doing basically is we're going to be setting the left side to a size that we want to be specific for. So basically what we're saying is all the other images underneath the first image need to be set at this location. So it's just an easier way just to be a bit certain that all our images are going to be together, hidden, and show up without any alteration or error where you can see all the other pictures. So I'm going to put this left of 222 pixels. As I said, I already know what these are, so follow along with the script or the tutorial. Pause the video as you're watching it on YouTube, and obviously just copy the code. And if you decide you have your pictures somewhere else, then just play around with the left or the top or the right and the bottom. I'm just going to be using left and top because that's obviously where my images are, and just have a play around with the numbers until you can actually find where, you can actually find where your image would sit with its absolute positioning. That's basically what we're doing at the moment. We're setting an absolute position. So I'm going to set the top, and I'm going to give that 8 pixels. So save that. So when we go into design, you won't really see much difference. It looks exactly the same. So everything is exactly the same as it was. And if I go to design, live view, obviously you won't see nothing because we have no jQuery code in there yet. Let's come out of that, go to the code again, and we're going to do our last line of CSS, and then we can start our jQuery. So we're going to give this another class of banner, and what I'm going to do is, let me just write this in and then I'll explain. First child, and we're going to give that a display of block. Now what this is going to do is basically take our pictures and it's going to display them in a block. Now the block basically means that it's going to be sat over to the left, and it's just going to basically pull in the images, and we're just telling the first child, so the first picture that we find, we want to display that as a block. So don't worry too much on exactly what this coding does. As I say, if you're following this tutorial, just copy exactly what I've done, and this should work for you no matter, with no worries. So just keep going, and you'll see exactly how this will turn out. So let's save that out. As I said, you won't see no difference. So if I was to actually take the E out of display none, you'll see the first pictures. There's 5 images, and as you can see, it looks like it's sitting on above our actual div here, but don't worry too much about that. So let's chuck the E back in there to display none, back to design, and hidden away again. Okay, so that's all our CSS done, and that's our structure laid out to how we want it. So the next thing we're going to do is our Bannerchanger.js, so our JQuery. So what I'm going to do, because if I'm coming up to my 12th minute on this video, I know I talk too much, but it's always a good sign when you talk too much, because that way at least you're trying to explain everything as you're going. So that's why it's taken me a little while, and that's why I want to make the jQuery code in one video, just because I know it's going to take a lot longer to explain to exactly what everything's doing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to have to make another video. I know I said I was going to try and keep it to 2, but hey ho, things happen. Never mind. So let's stop this one here, and I'll see you in part 3. Okay, cheers guys.